So hello, and I've been asked to do a talk on Metaverse, on the Metaverse, and I've known that I would do a talk sooner or later, and I might have touched on it in other videos, but Metaverse, the Metaverse. Yes, it's a real big thing. Now, so to preface my video, what I'm about to say and talk about, once again, I'm a business consultant, and predominantly my work experience has been in tech. And so I have a depth of work experience in the tech environment, so the internet, using technology, smartphones, computers, that sort of thing. I'm supposed to have a clue about. I'm supposed to know how to use it, how productive it is, how it can be used, and what the future is for it. So something like the Metaverse is, it's something that is a big. It's a big aspect. It's a big subject matter that someone like me would be interested in, and and would take a view. And the reason I'm in here is out there. It's very hot. It was 39 yesterday. I think it touched 40. And I don't use air conditioning, and so indoors now it's probably a late 20s. It could be 30 degrees, and I actually wasn't wearing anything. I've put this on so I look presentable, and actually these things are quite cool. Well, they're cooling, and So if I nod off in this video. And of course I have a coffee. I mean, this is actually hot. I should have had an iced coffee to help cool me down, but I don't know. I've put some honey in as well, and it'll keep me going. Right, Metaverse. I've made some notes, but as we know, in my videos I tend to go off piste and chat away. So I don't know if I will stick to my notes. Maybe one day I will. And but I do have some notes. But the Metaverse, and as we know, a very big social media company is putting a lot of investment into the Metaverse right now. Their CEO does nothing but talk about it, and it seems to be the latest thing now. So we're June 2022 right now, and the Metaverse, when that word is first mentioned to me, I often think initially of the gaming environment. All the popular games that you can think of that are basically viewed and used via a screen. So the screen is 2D. The presentation of the universe is in 3D, but it's via a 2D a medium in which you interact with it. So Metaverse really is explaining the taking that 2D user interface into a more 3D reality. And straight away, from a hardware point of view, what it's indicating is that the 2D environment that we're used to, so that's like a laptop screen or a computer screen or a smartphone screen, that's going to be replaced with some goggles that can simulate a 3D environment. So straight away, you've got a technical constraint there that I think has a massive bearing on what the metaverse can be and what it will be. So straight away, it's the way that we interact with it that presents one massive challenge that I will come to. So if I was asked to explain the metaverse in the smallest number of sentences possible, it would simply be taking a 2D experience, user experience, making reference to games and gaming that we have today, and taking that to a more 3D immersed experience, requiring the use of a headset, so that visually you can be subject to more control in that environment. And actually, I will raise that one big issue that I see right at the very beginning of the metaverse that we are talking about today using headsets, and that is health. I can't see how the health component is going to work that well, although I am quite sure that they will be working on it. Because just think about it, if you're going to be immersed in a world and you are going to be wanting to spend time in that world, so you have on your goggles or your glasses that create this 3D immersive environment, you have something, you have a light emitting something inside that device that is shooting concentrated light to the back of your retina, into your eyes. So I can only see this being a negative for the health of your eyes, your vision long term. And I'm sure that the makers of this technology are fully aware of this, and they are doing everything in their power to limit that risk and that negative health implication to a person's eyes. And I suppose also it could, that same thought could be taken to the audio aspect of it, because the indication being submerged into this metaverse, the headsets are going to include headphones as well, because they will be able to control this spatial audio technology as well, to make your experience more immersive. So one very quick aspect that I find will be a challenge is this being immersed, having your senses taken away and put into this electronic environment, but literally where you are becomes disconnect, because you have on this audio visual thing that will go in your head, and when you put it on, you will be immersed in that environment, and your actual environment will be removed from you. And there could be problems there. For some reason I can imagine parents seeing their young children, young teenagers, for hours on end, doing something like this, playing games or interacting with their friends, and they've just got a headset on, and even though the person is sat in a room, they're plugged in, and I can only see that horrifying parents. Anyway, but so this is just a practical challenge that I see being a very big challenge, because it's a massive health implication. So taking this 2D world that we already experience, note again, the 2D world that we have today is that we are present in the real world, and we're present in a presented 3D world via 2D. But the trade-off there is that you're in the real world, you're in this created world all at the same time, and your audio-visual senses are everywhere. I think that's a good thing. The metaverse is going to remove the real world from your experience when you're in the metaverse. I think that is a big challenge. So Right, where do I go here? I think what I may do is the metaverse, creating this. It is subject matter that is again very dimensional. There are lots of aspects to it. It's a little bit like, it is creating the internet again. Is this how we will all experience the internet? Will everyone just get inside the metaverse and do what you normally do inside the metaverse? Or will the metaverse be an option? So most of the time people will be normally writing on their laptops, on their computer screens, or doing their work that doesn't involve a computer, and then at your leisure, when for example you might engage with social media, instead of engaging with social media the normal way, you'll stick on this headset and engage with social media that way. So that might be what happens and how it is accepted. Though I don't think that will be generally accepted. Off the top of my head right now, June 2022, I think the market space for the metaverse will be the same size, a similar size to the gaming industry, the space that we have today. So if we have 500 million gamers online at any point in time around the world, the number might be less than that. I think that is the size of the market space for the metaverse. It's just one of my assumptions that I made very briefly a little while ago based on how I see the metaverse unfolding. And I think the main reason for that, without getting into lots of other technical and legal reasons, is quite simply based on how you will consume the metaverse, in that you will have to put on a headset. Now maybe technology, there will be two metaverses, a metaverse where you are fully submerged and a metaverse that is basically a beefed up version of a 3D experience via your 2D screen. And I think that will be a very good solution, and I'm sure that that's also plausible, and that's also being created anyway. I don't remember if that's I'm trying to reference my own reference point there, but I am sure that there will be these two formats, because I think if you can only engage with the metaverse by putting on a headset and having your audio visual senses being captured completely, I think that's a barrier to entry, and I think that will limit an awful lot of people using the metaverse. I think we are still going to be interacting with 2D screens for some time yet, because it's very practicable. Because the individual is able to be in the real world and the created world at the same time, and that is the reason why I think that will work. Actually, what I should do is mention, so do you remember Google Glasses, the augmented reality glass project that Google endeavored? Well, from the very beginning I said to a number of people, this is never going to fly. Now, I didn't say they shouldn't do it, I didn't say they should not make the product, because I actually said, but it's great technology and it should be developed, because there are industrial applications for that. But my point was, and it remained, this is never going to fly because it won't have wide adoption right now. Mainly because, again, of the practical visual implication. People walking around with Google Glasses and a stigma attached to it, that or a nerdy, unacceptable thing attached to it. and also making other people feel slightly suspicious or nervous because they don't know what's happening, they don't know what data is being presented to the person that's wearing this piece of hardware. And right from the beginning, I could never see that flying. I could never see wide-scale adoption of those glasses, mainly for that reason. But again, I did think it was a cool project and it should be developed, and it would have industrial application. Actually, I've just mentioned something there that I will mention that is in support of Metaverse and being submerged in a 3D environment. What the Metaverse does, and it's actually being used today for this, is it's a great training tool. It's a great training aid. As you can imagine, there are lots of jobs that require people to be in hazardous areas. I think they also use it with astronauts. I think NASA used the technology also. But think about oil workers or people that have to work in the sea, in an ocean, or in a very dangerous environment. To train them, you either have to simulate that environment, so there could be implications with cost, or the simulation has to be a real environment, so very expensive. Now, the Metaverse is a very good bit of technology to create that hostile environment. So it's a safe environment, very cost effective. Well, actually, creating Metaverse environments isn't that cheap, actually, but it will be cheaper than creating a dangerous, hazardous environment in real life and then doing the training that way. So the Metaverse is going to be, well, it's actually being used, these 3D environments are actually being used right now for training. That's where the technology has a fabulous transferability, because any job that requires dangerous environments or environments that need to be recreated, the Metaverse lends itself very well to that. So the training can be achieved that way. So that's one of the positives for Metaverse that I think. Well, it's really a point about the technology, because what I want to say also is I really believe that this very large social media company that's putting a lot into the Metaverse, I think it should, because I think the technology is going to be great and it will have application. I just don't believe it's going to have this dominant worldwide application, this mass acceptance that they think it might have. I don't think it will. I think its audience that is only going to be the size of the gaming audience right now, if you want numbers. I don't think the Metaverse is going to have mass adoption whatsoever, although I do think that everyone might try it. So initially the curve will go up, but then it will really come down, because I don't think the being totally submerged experience is going to keep people that interested for that long, and the disconnect will be a big negative, and it will be the thing that drives people away from the adoption of using it. So that's how I really see the Metaverse today. So what I'm saying is I don't think it's going to be as successful as we think it is. Now, so I haven't really offered a lot of detail there. So maybe I'm going to go through just a couple of issues that are related, that form my opinion. Now, I've got some words here. I don't know if some notes here. I don't know if I'll mention all of them, but I'll go with. Okay, a positive. Yes, the Metaverse could create. It could be a creator. It could a creative tool. I think yes, it will be able to aid people create new environments within the Metaverse. Yes, create new experiences. Yes. The scope of creativity, yes, you can assume it's going to be large. So that's a real good thing. I don't know what the full scope of that will be, but I think it will be large. It has to be. The very nature of it and being able to do anything in the metaverse, I think that will be huge. And once again, someone could say to me, hey Stephen, look, you can build machines, buildings, you can build anything you like in a spacecraft in the metaverse. So why wouldn't that be a cool thing? Well, yes, that will be a cool thing and the experience will be fantastic. But during the day, during the time that you are having that experience, there's going to come a point, and I think it'll happen sooner and sooner, where the individual will have had that experience, they will get bored and they'll want to take the headset off or disengage from being submerged in that environment. I think that's going to happen. Yeah, but it doesn't remove the possibility of the creative options will be enormous. So I have to say that because I think that is true. What else can you do in the metaverse that will be a good thing? So I've got the word purchase in here. Yes, I think the retail capacity, the retail ability in the metaverse is going to be great. I think people will go into virtual shops and view products and maybe whiz them around and maybe try them on. I could imagine all that happening, and I could imagine that being a point of sale. So that will work, no problem there. Saying that, you can never beat reality and the real experience. So once again, I could imagine people going into these virtual shops inside this virtual world, looking at the product that's been presented, a virtual version of it, liking it, but then coming out of the metaverse and then going into the real world and then sampling that product and then purchasing it. Maybe they'll go back into the metaverse if it's cheaper there and make the order there. But I can't see the metaverse replacing purchasing at all. It'll be another point of sale. It'll be another marketing tool. Absolutely. Okay. I've got a couple of words here that let's get in there. I've got the word inequality here, and the other large negative I think is highly possible with how they will sell the metaverse is also a thing that could stigmatize the metaverse and make people not want to use it. Because one of the selling points I imagine they will use is that if you engage with the metaverse, you are able to go anywhere, be anyone, do anything, anywhere with anyone, because it's cheaper. Now, we're heading, the world that we're in today, we are heading in a direction where inequality is going to unfortunately be more revealed and more evident. Now, that marketing piece that they might use to sell the metaverse could also backfire, because what it might also mean is if you're poor and you can't travel anywhere, you need to use the metaverse to get there. To have that experience, instead of spending large money on a real plane journey to that part of the world, don't bother with that. Simply log on into your metaverse account and enjoy that experience that way. Now, I could imagine a lot of people thinking, oh, so I've got the real experience that costs this, or I've got the peasant experience that costs my internet connection. So I'm not sure that's going to work very well. It could become heavily stigmatized. This is after the initial rollout of the metaverse and people have tried it. But I could really see certain people in society saying, no, I don't use the metaverse. I choose to pay for my experiences in reality. I could see that being a massive thing. I could see that being a very stigmatizing, interesting social thing that could really backfire. Acknowledging that you use the metaverse might be a way of saying you can't afford to do the thing in real life. So I can see a real challenge there. Now, a big one, a real big one, is safety. So we have literally a health issue that I'm sure that they will deal with. But safety. If you're in the metaverse and you are not an avatar, you are yourself, how's bullying going to be controlled? Can you be harmed in the metaverse? Can someone hit you? Hit your avatar. Could you be murdered in the metaverse? Would that be possible? Could your avatar or you, be killed? Could there be a natural disaster in the metaverse where your village and you and your house and family suffer, a hurricane? Actually, that might be interesting because people might want that experience, I suppose. So maybe there's something there. But safety, mental health, abuse, verbal abuse, synthetic, physical abuse, how is that going to be policed? Now, I imagine they've already thought about that, and they are forming directives and possibly policies around that right now. So as the metaverse is being built, I'm sure that they've got a handle on that, because it would be such a huge failure if it didn't work. If the news was, person harmed in the metaverse, people under attack in the metaverse. You could see the headlines right now. So that's going to be very interesting. Also, whilst you're in the metaverse, doing and saying things, all that data, will it belong to you, or will it belong to the provider of the metaverse? Because the metaverse is going to be an expensive thing to build. There's a lot of high-tech software and high-tech things that are required to make the metaverse a thing, in the metaverse. Right now, all social media platforms, their business model is advertising. So you, the user, are the product. You're allowed to engage with that service because you allow the provider of that service to collect data about you, to enable them to sell you as a product to an advertising agency or or a company that wants to market you directly. So I imagine that will be the model that they will go for. Maybe there will be a subscription model. That's plausible, I suppose. And in that subscription model, you might access, Netflix in spatial sound 3D. I could see that working, actually. Perhaps people are happy to put a headset on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, watch a feature film in complete immersion. That could be possible. So the subscription model might work that way. But I think it's going to be more centered around the advertising models that we have today for the social media platforms that we use today. So I do find that interesting. Who owns the data? That is, and what data is collected and how is it used? That is unfortunately fraught with danger, and I am sure there's going to be many debates, discussions and falling outs about that stuff. Because a lot of data is going to be available, is going to be collected anyway. Because the metaverse is going to be it's going to be capturing you and everything about you in real time. That you are in that experience. it will be collecting, I imagine, more data than social media collects right now, because you're actually in there in real time, moving your arms and legs and saying stuff and interacting with more third parties than you've ever done before. So yeah, it's a real interesting. I mean, the topic, the technology, the future of the metaverse is massively interesting, and is certainly something that we want to do for the reason it's so interesting. And there will be lots of useful applications for it that will work. I just don't believe it will be widely adopted and as big as they think it might be. I really don't think that. I think the use of it is a barrier to entry. But technology and it. I have a caveat there. If technology gets to a point where the submerged experience no longer you requires to have the headset and the headphones on, so this thing over your head can be removed, but yet you can still be immersed in that environment. So that would indicate you're in a room that creates a visual 3D perspective via lasers and other light emitting technology without the headset on. I mean, we've seen it in some movies recently, some science fiction movies, where 3D models can be created on a tabletop, and the indication is that they use laser lights and latest technology lighting systems to create these visual 3D objects, and and they appear in the middle of a table. That, I think, has much greater capacity and would be a game changer. The fact that you're not submerged with this headset around your head, the fact that you could create a room that becomes a room in the metaverse, but your body is free and you can still interact with the real world around you. Now that would be different. That metaverse, that could be metaverse 2.0 or 3.0 if we're there. Now that would be a lot more there'd be a much lower barrier to entry, because, for example, right now I could just click on the metaverse and this room turns into a room that I want it to be. So as I'm literally talking to this video, you would see me, and but you'd see the room that I want I want me to be in and you to see me in. But if someone walked into the room, you would also see that person, and so you'd literally see the real world and the simulated world all at the same time, in real time, without these headsets on. Now that would be a game changer. Well, it'd be the next game changer. Now that would be different, and I think that has hugely a wider ranging possibility, purely because you don't have to wear a headset and headphones, or the headset is the main thing. So the biggest barrier to entry for me for the metaverse that we understand it today is wearing this thing around your head. That's a very, very limiting factor. Remove that and give us laser light technology and latest lighting technology that creates these objects and moving objects, and that would be something else. That would be people, I imagine, would be a lot more accepting of having the real world and a synthetic world all at the same time, but you are literally in both of them at the same time, and your audio-visual senses can actually participate in both worlds all at the same time. That would be, I think, the real game changer. And I'm not aware that that technology fully exists right now, but you can bet your bottom dollar they're working on it, because we've seen a very crude examples of it do exist. We've seen it, and I imagine that can only get better. So I suppose what I'm saying is the metaverse will come, it will have this headset, that will be a limiting factor. Then the metaverse will, the technology will keep developing to a point where you can take that headset off and still be in that universe, because they've been able to create an audio-visual environment that doesn't require the headset. That is the way to go, I think. That will be the future. So, yeah. So that's my initial chat about the metaverse. I am quite sure there are many things that I've forgotten to talk about. There are so many other issues about it that I haven't mentioned, but no doubt I will come back to the metaverse. And I hope what I've said is interesting enough. Hopefully I've made some points that some people might find interesting. And at that, I'm going to say ciao. I hope everyone is well, and I wish you all a very good day.